Hello everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Eco Heroes Unplugged, a podcast series by Aaranyak marking its 35th anniversary celebrations. I'm Anushka Saikia, your host for today, and we are thrilled to embark on this beautiful journey of conversations with wildlife conservation in Northeast India. We have with us Dr. Bibhab Kumar Talukdar, who is the founder of Aaranyak and also the executive director of the organization. He has received a well-known award very recently, which is the Harry Mazel Award, and we are very glad to have him with us today. So we welcome you to Eco Heroes Unplugged.
Thank you.
Aaranyak has come a long way over the last 35 years from a very humble eco-nature club to this big organization that you are a part of. If we go back to the very beginning of your story, which inspired you to take this conservation career and also to be the founder of this institution, so how did it all start?
See, it started in the year 1989. I appeared my bachelor degree exams, and then I realized that I have to wait for 6 months in order to get admissions in the postgraduate. So basic idea during that time how best I can use my time. And since I had biology during my graduates, and I was a little bit interested on wildlife issues, so I thought that let a nature club be formed. And accordingly, before forming the Aaranyak as a nature club, I was in touch with the WWF India. They had a nature club movement during that time. And during that time, their WWF India's office was in Mumbai, not in Delhi. So then, the concept of nature club came, and then I, interacted with some of my neighbors and some of my friends. And that's how on 9th of September in 1989, Aaranyak was formally launched. And then we registered ourselves as a society. Basically, during that time, our main idea was to inculcate in the minds of young students the love for nature, and then also do some awareness programs.
Okay, sir. So you lead two divisions in Aaranyak, the Rhino Conservation Division and the Legal Advocacy Division. So how it began, how the establishment of these two divisions began in Aaranyak?
Okay. See, the rhino has been the epitome of conservation movement in Assam. It is the state animal. And during that time, rhino poaching has been a major concern. So I started thinking, beside doing my birding. Initially, we basically engaged in birding, but then I thought, how best we can contribute towards rhino conservation, and that is how in 1994 I approached the UK-based the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation, and they provided us a seed money to start rhino conservation awareness program. That is how we started specific rhino conservation awareness program, and then we realized to reduce the rhino poaching incidences, we need some legal interventions, legal orientation workshops, and that is how the legal and advocacy divisions evolved in 96-97 when we started our first legal orientation workshops for the frontline forester. Here I want to highlight the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation, who has given us the support in 1994, is still continuing support to Aaranyak for 31 years. I think that is a history of David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation for supporting an organization. And I think thanks goes to our concerted effort for rhino conservation, and also trying to reduce the illegal wildlife trade or crime in the region.
So both these divisions in Aaranyak have been flourishing in the recent years. And if we go back to 2022, when there was 0 poaching cases in Assam, so do you think that these two divisions have done any impact? Though you have told in the earlier answer, but I would really want you to highlight more on this part.
See, the NGOs like us, we work as a catalyst. Measure, law enforcement and field management has to be done by the government agency. So we, basically flag the issues at the right forum. I would like to highlight with regards to increased rhino poaching in 2013 when Assam lost, 41 rhinos. So what we did during that time, I met the Director General of Police along with our current EC member, executive committee members, Mr. Kaushik Borua. We basically apprise him that the way the poaching pressure is formed, the forest department alone cannot do it. So can you as a DGP engage the Assam police? And that is the time when he filed very tactfully, and the special task force of Assam police was given the mandate to reduce the rhino poaching cases. So that is how police became more and more active, because the culprits and the arms, illegal arms, are generally stay in the civil areas, not inside the national park, okay? Where police has more power, more intelligence gathering network. So that is one way we contributed, so that the another enforcement agency, which is police, is becoming more and more proactive. Government has also initiated steps based on there was a public interest litigations also, which the Guwahati High Court itself fight. And based on that, the frontline staff strength in Kaziranga has been doubled. The frontline staff of wildlife areas has got modern equipments, including automatic rifles, because we realized that during that time the poachers are using like AK-47, AK-56 rifles. To combat that, the existing .315 rifles is not going to help. So these are the things which government has done its part based on a strong public voice. And during that time, I remember, public voice was very strong. Even now, I feel for rhino conservation, public voice is very strong. And that is why, and that strong voice of public ultimately trigger some concrete and, the government action. We have a, task force which is chaired by the Director General of Police to reduce rhino poaching. So there's interdepartmental, collaborations to check, illegal poaching of rhinos are flagged. And that is why we have seen in recent years, the sharp decline. And you have rightly mentioned that in 2022, there was 0 poaching years. And last 2 years, at an average, we lost 2 rhinos. So compared to 41 rhinos in 2013, it bringing down to 2, I would say this is a great success.
True. I think now the audience would really want to know who were the team members of Aaranyak working in these 2 divisions, along with all the collaborators.
Okay. See, our legal and advocacy divisions, we also launched a K9 unit in 2011. So currently, we have 7 canine sniffer dogs of Belgian Malinois breed, and we have stationed them in the all rhino-bearing areas in Assam. So we have about 12 handlers there, and then the division is also, we are having a deputy director, Dr. Jimmy Bora. We have also a deputy manager, Binita Barwati. Then we have a senior project officer, Ivy Farin Hussain. We also have a legal consultant, Ajoy Kumar Das, whom we consult. So these are broadly our legal and advocacy team. This is also being supported by Wasima Begum and Kakoli Boiso. In our rhino research and conservation team, we have Dr. Debo Dotto, who is now, the deputy director. We have the, senior manager Arif Hussain, who has been working with the rhino conservation for a long time, and he's basically involved with the community engagement. And then also, we have Kakoli also support, the rhino conservation. And then we have Pujjal, who is now working in Povitora. So this is a team, but, since the rhino and, legal teams work very closely, because some of the works are related. Okay, so as a team, sometimes the cross collaborations between the LAD and the Rhino Research and Conservation divisions takes place.
Okay, would you like to tell about the funding agencies who have been part of this whole work?
Okay, now in terms of the legal and advocacy divisions and the Rhino and Research and Conservation divisions, as I mentioned earlier, the David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation of UK, they have been supporting us for the last 31 years. We are also supported by NABU International, based in Germany. So they are basically supporting our, 4 canine units they are supporting. They also provided us some equipments and also, supported equipments in the field areas. Then we also have the People for Nature and Peace, which supports 1 canine units. We also got support from the Jew Berlin, based on which we are working in Povitora. International Rhino Foundation has also been supporting us. So these are, some of the IUCN, is also supporting us, which we are now implementing in Povitara. So these are, some of the key, donor agency that I could recollect at this moment. And,
There's so many people on board.
yeah,
Forget.
if I had missed anybody also, I mean, if the viewers, they must also feel proud that they are supporting us. At this moment, probably I may have missed one or two.
Definitely. So every glorifying stories, it comes with some setbacks, challenges at times. So professionally, what kind of challenges have you faced?
See, there are many challenges, in the conservation field. The location of Assam itself is a challenge, because of the weathers. During earlier days, it is because of the socio-political unrest. There are bombs somewhere. There are, a lot of strikes going on. But every challenges also brings equal opportunities. We should not be frightened when we see challenges. We need to find out what are the other ways available. Okay. So that brings us to communicate with diverse groups of people. The communities, the law enforcement agencies, the other government departments. Because when we are expecting support from others, the other people needs to know what work we are doing and what kind of support they can provide. So that communication is very important. And so, means a lot of people also say that funding is a challenge. Yes, funding is a challenge, but with my experience, sometimes I found that funding is, of course, a challenge, but if we perform and deliver, we can get funding. What I see challenge is to get good people. Okay, and that is why now, from our organization, Aaranyak, we have started internship program, we have started volunteer program, so that in that way we can build a group of, skilled, conservationists who can contribute in many areas of conservation. Here I would also like to highlight that conservation is not just for geologists or botanists or environmentalists. Any discipline, students of any disciplines or any people with any disciplines can contribute in this wildlife conservation and environment protection.
So these were all professional challenges. So you might have those moments in your life when it's very difficult, to juggle between like work and personal relationships. So how have you maintained that balance and kept everything on track?
See, fortunately, I got very good, support from my parents. My father, of course, he was not convinced very much that whether I can really go forward with this as a career. Of course, every parents will have their own, responsibility to see that, their child stabilize it at some point. But they never objected. Okay, so even after I got married, also I got good support, from my wife and my son. So from that angle, I think I was quite fortunate that, means. But sometimes I feel, because this is a 24/7 kind of work. And working with rhinos, sometimes something happens, a poaching happens. I used to have sleepless night because my brain keeps thinking, how best I can contribute, probably provide some inputs to the enforcement agencies so that they can track. So these are some of the, I think from the family, fortunately I got good support. When we initially started conservations, people was thinking, what is this? Even when we go for birding, people used to laugh. Oh, these people are doing birding, they should read and get some good job. But then we must be very clear what we want to achieve. Many people who are not engaged with, definitely they will not know. But I think we need to make our minds solid. And that is where probably, over the years, I have been able to further, concentrate on the areas where we feel that, the conservation interventions are essential. So these are some of the, support or hindrance that you can say. But I think overall, whatever hindrance came, I think, we have been able to sort it out.
So it's been like 35 years working for an organization, being such a integral part to an institution.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like along with passion, what do the younger generations they need?
See, I think younger generations, first of all, passion. Second thing, they have to be little bit, patient also. because to get something, it takes time. Okay, because nowadays the electronic things are making things quite faster, but everything may not be in fast in that speed in reality. So we really need to assess that for some some activities to get success, it will take some time. So we need to understand that so that we can reduce our own frustration. Okay, so yeah, that's what I feel. I address in that way. I prioritize whenever there are 10 tasks. I basically try to find out, which task is the first foremost that I need to complete. So I think the younger generations need to be a little bit disciplined, use the time very properly, okay? Because time is something we cannot buy. For that, and the time is limited. We cannot increase 24 hours to 50 hours. So time is limited. It is how we can have a good time budgeting and utilize the time, properly.
So we have heard about how the establishment of both the divisions happened, no? But we would also want to know what are the activities that you conduct through these divisions.
See, I think one of the, I would say, signature activities of the Rhino Research and Conservation Division is, the initiation of the Rhino Goes to School program. So we used to conduct 40 such, Rhino Goes to Schools around the rhino breeding areas. And as I mentioned, Arif Hussain, he basically, conducts those training. And generally, every, training program of about 1.5 hours, we get about 100 students average. So far, since 2011, in last 14 years, we have covered almost 35,000, students with that. And that has produced, some volunteers who is now coming forward during the flood time to, act as a volunteer in the highways, passing through Kaziranga, requesting, the drivers of the vehicles to reduce their speed. So that is the impact. And some of the, the participants of our Rhino Goes to School has also attended a nature orientation, camp that we do with Kaziranga National Park authorities and other NGOs. And some of them are now becoming instructor and also assist, Arif in the Rhino Goes to School. So that is, I think, a program that has helped us to reach out and spread, the conservations, through the students to their parents. Because the parents listen to their students. So, and students are quite excited whenever, they attend this. Second thing I want to highlight is our associations in the Indian Rhino Vision 2020, which is, launched by the Assam government in 2005. And we are part of, the IRB 2020 team. And we helped, the IRB 2020 team to capture over 22 rhinos from Kaziranga and Pobitora, and then it was translocated in Manas National Park. And in that way, within Aaranyak, we have, built our expertise. And this expertise was also sought in 2018 by the West Bengal government when they had two, stay-out rhinos was roaming, in the North Bengal. One of them was unfortunately killed by poachers, and then, we were asked by the West Bengal government to help. And we went there, and myself and Kosit Bura, we went there and helped, the West Bengal team to capture the rhinos and, been able to bring it to the safer location.
So, sir, what about the legal and advocacy division?
Okay, I already highlighted the introduction of the canine sniffer dogs. The other workshops that we do, initially we did, with the forest, frontline forest staff. But since 2017, we have started giving more emphasis to police, other paramilitary forces like the SSB or the BSS or CISS, especially in the airport. And we are sometimes doing these legal orientation workshops in collaboration with the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau of Guwahati office. So, and then we are also, working closely with the Assam State Legal Service authorities, for orientations, workshops, for the sitting judges. And then also combined workshop where, we invite through Assam State Legal Service authorities, the senior high court judges, district, court judges, police officials and forest officials, where we discuss about the challenges that the enforcement agencies are facing in pursuing the court cases. And then, the judiciary officials provide the inputs. And that was quite helpful, and we are continuing that. In 2024, we organized a very good workshop in Aizawl with the Mizoram State Legal Services Authorities. We got, two, honorable judges from the Supreme Court, three honorable judges from Guwahati High Court, and all the judges, from the Mizoram. The police, their DGP was there, the chief secretary was there, their principal chief conservator, their custom officers were there. Why we choose Mizoram? That may be a question. Because we have found that in past few years, there has been increased incidences of illegal import of exotic species through Mizoram to mainland India. In fact, Mizoram police has set a world record of capturing the largest number of consignment of illegal wildlife in one particular day. And that is why we choose Aizawl, because we thought that, a sensitization workshops and engaging the enforcement agencies and judiciary are very important. So these are the workshops that we are continuing, and we are also preparing some small manuals which will be of help for the enforcement agencies to refer, do the provisions of the Indian laws that could be used in pursuing the complaint case under the Wildlife Protection Act.
Having been working in this field for so many years, so you go to different remote places in India, you travel across the globe. So you might have had several field experiences. So would you like to share some of them with the younger generations?
So I think first most, strength that as a field researchers one has to build to travel. It should not be treated as a burden. And then the second is to get to know the local people in the surrounding areas so that the people knows why I am there. When we started the work, the socio-political unrest in Assam was quite an issue. We survived because, we communicate. And we do inform, the nearest police station sometimes why we are here, because, we generally go with a binocular, we generally go with a, with a field dress. So sometimes it may look suspicious. So I think, in those times, we basically introduce ourselves who we are, so that, the identity is known to everybody. And that is how even during those, challenging days, we had no issues in doing our field work. The second thing is that, means in field level of research work, we have to adjust our lifestyle. The kind of support or kind of comfort that we might get at our own home, we may not get it in the field. So that is where I think the passion is important. If we just do it, as part of, an employee without any passion, that may probably, bring a kind of a deterrent thought. I think I should spend less and less time in the field and more in the comfort zone. So that is somewhere we need to break comfort zone. And third thing, which is very important, field experience is something you cannot buy. So, now as I am, becoming little older in terms of, working for 35 years, I nowadays need not go to field level. But one positive thing is that I know in the field very much. Even my, supporting staff also, whenever they go to field, I get to know where they have gone and where they have not gone. And it is because of the earlier context. So my, suggestion would be to the present generation is to enjoy your field trip. Document whatever, you have seen beyond your project activities, because, you may not be able to go to that place second time or third time, okay? And then, build a network, whom you know. Maybe while working in a particular area, we know the range officer. Our project has ended. We have started another area. Maybe that range officer has gone there. Okay, so that context are very important for a field biologist, Our strength is not just the knowledge or the methodology. Our strength as a field biologist or a field, conservationist should also how best we can keep a good chain of, communications with the people whom we already know. I think so. These are very important, aspect in the field level.
Do you have any field stories, like interesting stories that you might have encountered?
Well, I remember in 93 maybe 94, 95. I was in Namibia. I was doing my PhD on white-winged wood duck. And then, two leopards were brought from the zoo to be released, in Namibia. So I was there, my friend Prasanto Bodoloi from Nogao, he always accompanied me during my white-winged wood duck because he has good camera. And so that he can, get some. And then, we were about to release the leopards, with the range officer and DFO, but then suddenly, VIP came. With VIP, a lot of people came, and so they started, making a little bit more noise. So leopard was a little bit disturbed. So leopard, instead of looking at the forest, the leopard was looking at the people. So as soon as, the cage was open, as I expected, the leopard didn't go to the forest. It came back, towards the people. And it actually attacked, my friend Prasanto Bodore. But he was quite alert enough to block, with the hand so that, the face he could save. But he has got, a good, punch from the leopard. And then the police officers, fired a blank fire. And then leopard ultimately went to the forest. Then I said, see, this is something not a funfair kind of thing. And range officer also said, yes, we have to reduce people. Okay, then the second leopard was released, and the second leopard went, quite nicely. So that is a learning experience in the field, the field condition, the working is not only funfair, especially with regards to release of an animal. Yes. So it needs to be, in a cool environment, less people should go. Photography is secondary. Primary aim is to release the animal so that it can go into the wilderness without any harm, without doing harm to the animal itself or without doing harm to the released team itself. So that's, I think, a good experience that I had. I also had experience when working in Namiri, I was almost surrounded by the elephant herd while, looking back. But luckily, the forest guards were from the camp, they alerted, they didn't shout. They just alerted me that I am surrounded by elephants, so don't panic. So slowly I, came towards the elephant, and the elephant also noticed that, this person is not, So that patience is very important. Understanding the animal behavior is very important. When rhino chase, the best way to avoid chasing rhino is don't go too close. Sure. Okay. If we need photographs, we should still make a good distances from animals because they are unpredictable. Today they are good, tomorrow we don't know. So I think these are the field experience that I have, learned over the time. And then also, interacting with the forest officers because they are also eager what kind of research work we are doing. Okay, so if we can give them feedback, their interest, keeps going, and then we can always get good support from them. So again, that is where I come back to the communication. Whatever we do, we need to communicate with the concerned officers. So this, and of course, birding is something I like. Unfortunately, nowadays, because of other administrative work, I sometimes don't get that much time. But birding is something, it is not frustrating. Anywhere we go, we can see 30, 40 species easily in Assam. So, I think for a new naturalist, the best way to get more and more engaged is to start birding. And then, slowly he or she can go for other animals or, even plants as well.
In many wildlife career, actually, people start from birding. People start bird watching and then they have form interest in other species. So since you've talked about the relocation of rhino in Assam, so I'd really want to know how is the relocation in Africa?
So I was quite fortunate to, be part of the rhino capture and other, big mammals captures in Kruger National Park in 2013 and 2014. They are highly equipped, and since they are capturing and translocating rhinos quite frequently, they have a good set of, equipments, including capture equipments, the carrying vehicles. They also have helicopters, from where, they generally put the darting. So I think equipment-wise, they are fantastic. The use of, the drugs in there, to capture the rhinos or other animals are very unique, and because they have gained that much experiences over the years. And they are very professional. Only few people goes to field, 6, 7, 8 people. Now that's something, and that is why when they release the animals, there is no noises. So that's something I learned, and I, basically shared these kind of experiences here. That during the release phase, we need to reduce people. As I said, that this is not something like a fun fair kind of game. So I think African experience also helped me a lot. First is the professionalism. Second is the equipments, kind of equipments that we need. In fact, with support from one of the donors, WCN, based in US, we have also just made a very good rhino cage made of iron with the metal, which may be used in our future translocations in Assam.
So you have been to Indonesia a couple of times. So what encounters do you have like with Sumatran and Javan rhinos?
So I'm quite fortunate to work in Indonesia since 2008. We have 2 rhino species there, Sumatran rhino, that is the only Asian species having 2 horns, and the Javan rhino. Javan rhino looks almost similar to our greater one-horn rhino, but Sumatran rhino looks different. It's smaller and it's hairy. Both the rhinos stays in the dense forest, so it's very difficult to see them. It is very difficult to estimate them. Here I would like to also inform that I will be probably one of very few people in this world who has seen all the 5 rhino species in the wild. Okay, so I saw my Javan rhinos in the Ujung Kulon National Park in West Java. That was my almost 31st trip to that university, and I saw 2 Javan rhinos. I also saw the Sumatran rhinos in the wild. Africans are quite easy to see. So the challenges for Asian, for the Sumatran and Javan rhinos are different from the challenges that we are having with regards to the greater one-horn rhino. Unfortunately, the population of Sumatran rhinos are found declining very fast. When I started going there in 2008, the estimated population was close to 240, 260. Now it has gone down to less than 50. Javan rhino also started increasing after a little bit of habitat manipulation. That is what again I want to highlight here. How experience helps. Here we maintain in Assam for greater one-horn rhino, we maintain habitat by burning grassland annually, so that grassland are managed as a grassland. In Javan rhino habitat, the habitat management was not done for a long time. So when I visited there, I basically asked what was the habitat 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And then we made, the GIS mapping. During that time, Krajit Sharma was working with us in the GIS division. So we made the GIS mapping, which helped me to find out the changes in the habitat. And then we found that one particular species of tree, which is Aaranyak palm, that grows much faster. And then it covers the top canopy, and then it reduces the sunshine to reach the ground, and that is one of the major reasons why the rhino food plots could not germinate, because of lack of sunshine. So then I discussed the matter with the then director of the Ujung Kulon National Park. So can we do a little bit of experiment with habitat manipulations? So we need to basically thin some of the Aaranyak palms so the light can penetrate. And we did that experiment, and we found immediately after that no intervention, rhino food started, plants started growing. So that a practice that they are following now, and the population has increased from during that time from 40 to 76 in 2023. Recently, of course, unfortunately, there has been some poaching cases, so the population has further reduced it. But if you ask me, if I compare the situations of conservation efforts in India and Indonesia, I would say I think India is far ahead. Sometimes we feel that other countries are doing all great things and we are lagging behind. Not true in all the cases. I have seen rhinos, conservation protections. The commitment that our government has shown to reduce poaching, strengthening the staff strength, modernizing the equipments, I think it's very encouraging. And that is why we have seen that rhino poaching has reduced from 41 to 2. It is because of the effort of the government and the resources that government has put, in order to secure the rhinos in our state and in other parts of India by other respective state governments.
So, sir, I would really want to know the community participation. So, is the community participation actually helping in conservation efforts in India?
I think if we see, historically, the people of Assam or people of India has been practicing conservations, knowingly, even sometimes unknowingly. And that is why, despite having the largest human populations in a country like India, we still have, some remarkable populations of some of the threatened species like tigers, rhinos, elephants, etc. So I think the people by nature are associated with conservation, maybe because of their cultural affinities, cultural practices. So those we need to further strengthen it. And I feel that even our constitution has also given mandate to every citizens of India under Article 51AG to contribute towards conservation of environment, forest, and wildlife. So I think in that perspective as well, I feel the conservation of wildlife areas has to be a shared responsibility of the government agencies and also the people. Okay, so no one can take away the right of the people to contribute towards conservation. And that is what I think our communities are playing a very important role. With regards to rhino conservation, I think communities' voice has been very strong for a long time. Rhinos sometimes, does a little bit of damages to their crop fields. They take it as a blessings. Okay, so there is no conflict as such, with rhinos visiting their crop fields. So I think these are the positive aspects for which I know if I see, say, the Assamese people, we have to be very proud that, our people are very much concerned with conservation, especially with rhinos, and that is why the rhino population has increased over the years. It's almost coming close to 3,000 now in Assam. And thanks to the government and, effort to keep the rhinos protected, but also thanks goes to the communities for their consistent effort. And I think that needs to continue in days to come.
So as we wrap up this very enlightening session with you, so I really want to know, how do you envision Aaranyak? Like, what's your dream Aaranyak in the near future?
See, I think, Aaranyak has grown quite big, I would say, In 2002, 2003, we had only 4 staff. Now we have had more than 200. I think this is a time that we need to stabilize a little bit, reorganize, rethink, where our conservation, activity should focus, because there may be other NGOs also doing the same thing. And then we should accordingly see how best, our future efforts can give impact. To do that, we need young generations to keep the flag forward. Okay, and for that, I think the experienced people in the organization should handhold, the current generations, and build the skills, diverse skills, in order to achieve, the future conservation goals that the organizations is going to set or has already set. So I think the human resource development is very essential. And with my experience, whatever we do, you may call me scientist, you may call me biologist, networking is the key. Communication is the key. If we can establishing network is easy. Maintaining that is tough, okay? So we need to maintain the network with many agencies, government officials, other stakeholders. Then I think we can further, contribute more and more. Because, I realized that, the northeastern people, even the rest of the country or the world, is definitely expecting that what kind of conservation actions Aaranyak is going to, initiate, or Aaranyak is going to continue, so as to complement the effort of the government to, achieve the conservations, because that is where the future of human well-being lies.
So thank you, sir, for being here. We really had a wonderful conversation about the conservation that is happening in India and in Northeast, mostly in Assam, when it comes to rhino, when it comes to big mammals. Thank you to the listeners for joining us in Eco Heroes Unplugged, and we are really grateful to have such a beautiful conversation with Dr. Bibhab Kumar Talukdar today. Thank you.